Okay, so we'd now like to call upon Queen Brett to make the feature presentation. But just before she begins, I'd just like to make a small presentation to her. Yes. Yeah. This is just a small booklet.
Come.
I'm trying not to because it's not time for me to be up there.
Right.
I'm trying to cover something.
It's a little booklet that I did for a workshop last year at Liver Medicines in the Airmont Valley.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
If I die after this, it's because I use these medicines. He said. Only blame.
Okay, so you wanna, are you gonna, you need,
I don't need
okay.
I just need you to clear
Yeah.
me.
Oh, you want all the speech?
Yeah, I want
Okay, great.
You come up here.
What about the rice? I'll leave the rice to you.
Yes.
Right.
Been this storm so long. I've been this your storm so long. Crying, Lord, Lord, give we more time for pride. I've been in this your storm so long. Oh, this your honey time. Oh, this your honey time. Crying, Lord, Lord, give we more time for prayer. I've been in this your storm so long. Well, it is your you clean up there, clean that thing like that. Done did it. Wow, get this shit. Then children knew nothing, dog. Then I think, see, when I met them thing in the morning, see, just jump in the bottom. All of them walked the belly full. Then I know what it take for me now upon this shit. So all of these time we done did it. In it, rat mouth, snake mouth, all kind of thing. Now make sure. So we done bring in the sheep. Even in the church, I can hear this your song called bringing in the sheep. Yeah, no, see. They said I did like a should dry long Sunday. Say I have to go hang on, hard and sickle and thing, or cut them down. Then after you cut it, you have a car come back like this year. You bring them in, then you get them inside. Amen. Right that again. So clear out all these your tea and things inside the house. Carry box sure. Lick them on top of it, lick them on top of it, till they come off. Just like a backyard. When I say slavery time and thing like that, they would have big old barrel and thing. And they would lick them on it, till they go in it. You see, when that time now, the children not see this shit. The children are going in the store, supermarket and thing like that. So then them shop, if they like this shit, if they put on one shelf like this shit, so you ask them to go get rice, them gone to the shelf. You see where rice come from? They say plastic bag. Because then I know, rice come from the ground. You see, we sow, they in the soil. But plenty of time today, you can't blame the children that didn't cover them now. Because with the children have a no, nobody have for long them. You understand? You can't love nobody that no fuss and what you say. Anyway, so you see, when we the day are the day, every time we look on one another, we will not see. Because people are going wrong, cover we up, cover who we are. And plenty of we, they're going wrong. Like this your poem, they say, we wear the mask. Like a Yona, the mask been for ritual. The last same thing for try hide who one another and who God make them. So we the African people that carry knowledge around the world. Then you have the rest of the people look at the shiny thing from and things like that. Eh? You have to call them TT dollars. And then call them the pound, US dollar. All of them come from we. Whatever we call black gold, black cargo. And that ship we round the world. Ship we one way, ship we on the rest of the way this year. But you see the color this year? You see this year color? Right? See how that look like that? This one from the hills. When you dig up the hill, it's always cooler, you know. So, for some reason, hill and thing when they high up, always cooler. And when I go in church tall, you might study about that and you say, well, you know, we want to go heaven because it's higher and it's supposed to be cooler. Right? You ain't want to go down because they tell you down is burning. And so now, when I look on the hill rise, and I see, oh, great God, this Yahweh rise, look, when? I said, oh, he light skin, as they might say. Because this year here, the women used to see in the rice, look, you see the color, it's darker. You see the color. But this year, the one how they get about, call them low country rice. How they say, Gullah Geechee rice, some people would say. But we call them Carolina gold. So the Carolina gold, they crack your teeth and call them that because of the color. But also, because of all the shiny thing where you put it on the rest of people's pocket. Plenty money make from this year, Carolina gold. But just like we're not there in the hills. We're not had hills tall, flat. Just like this year. We grow like this. Maybe because we're closer to the earth. And the half will go up high. So not so cool. It's always hot. So maybe get a little tan. You understand? But both of these here are cousins. So the day when we crack my teeth like this year, we bring my greetings from the Gold Coast. Now we're not talking about Alkebulan. We're not all the way back to the motherland. We talk about right there, the Sea Islands. They used to call them the Gold Coast because of the Carolina gold. When that became one of the major industries. We had 3 cash crop industry: cotton, rice, and indigo. That build not only the infrastructure of what is now the Gullah Geechee Nation, but all of what you call the United States. So when Hunter tell me, the people are cracking deep like that, this year the first language we will know as Gullah Geechee's Polynesia Island, they call the Sea Islands within the Atlantic Ocean. Right off the coast from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. And we just stayed there and things like that. So just like over here, we got the indigenous ancestry inside plenty of we blood as the Gullah Geechee. And sometimes they hear about them and they call them Seminole. The Seminole being a Gullah Geechees. Some intermarried with the Kusabo, the Yamasee, the Cree, the Adisto, and they fight back against the colonizers. So the word really on Cimarron was unconquerable. They would say exile, but there was always the warrior breed they couldn't control. So just like a dish of rice and thing like that, I take it if you leave hill rice by itself, you can't control it, you get wild rice. You leave Carolina gold by itself, you can't control it, you get wild rice. We call them volunteer. You see? Now, hundred children, yeah, when know about the American, know they've been some other some volunteer. What we can do, they've been young and things like that. In Trinidad, and now he just get it just now in Tobago. We all call them volunteers, this signer. You all know he been. This is one of the descendants himself. So who was it? The royal, the colonels. Who was the military that got your people here?
The British.
The Brit, no, but what was the name of the particular?
Colonial Marine.
Yes, the Colonial Marine. Women live in the Sea Islands. I live on an island that sounds like a town you have right here, St. Helena. Okay? So I'm going to St. Helena here before I go back to my St. Helena. Right across from St. Helena, I can look at the Marines. Because the island, Paris Island, has become the United States Marine Corps training center for all U.S. Marines. But my family, the Goodwines, owned property on Paris Island. Before the Gullah statesman, Robert Smalls, said it would be a good idea to have a naval operation at Paris Island, not knowing doing that would mean the displacement of Gullah Geechee people, would now mean the displacement of any farming and fields that could be there because you needed to now set up for military operations and training. So when I heard of the Colonial Marines, it again made a connection for me. And here it was that the Colonial Marines turn out to be people who are, as we would have said, mustered into service by the British during the War of 1812. In Georgia, coastal Georgia, on those sea islands we call the Golden Isles that are part of the Gullah Geechee Nation, but not all of them are from Georgia. Many were from Carolina that went and joined them at the different places where the British were again, what? Fighting against their baby, really, America. Because America is their offspring. So now you're fighting your own child. Because someone wants to dominate the economy. Someone wants to be able to control what industries there are. The economic power was from the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast of West Africa, where most of us in here's ancestors were kidnapped and captured from. And then after they teach them, they drop them off in all these islands we now know are part of CARICOM, that we say are the Caribbean or the Caribbean islands. Then they dropped off people at Sullivan's Island, which is one of the sea islands, where over 40% of all Africans enslaved in North America came through. At Sullivan's Island is where I was installed as the chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation. And it was only then, on July 2nd, 2000, that truly to the world, Gullah Geechee culture became revealed and unveiled. Because many Gullah Geechees refused to show their real culture in front of communities, in front of people, because people had exploited too much of our traditions, our traditional knowledge. They exploited our language, our stories. They tried to sell them as CDs, entertainment for their friends. They wanted to bring in enslaved Africans to dinners and tea parties and have them sing and dance and speak that way y'all talk. So to this day, you have festivals and things that are now being backed by towns and being backed by bureaus of tourism and being backed by chambers of commerce that do what someone wrote a book a few years back entitled Rent a Negro. And the reason that book is entitled Rent a Negro, and why I mention that, is because they feel like, well, if the native Gullah Geechees won't let us exploit them, we'll find someone look like them, kind of sound like them, and if you take the money, then here, they give you a script. Say, tell this story. Or you know that Anansi story? Or don't do it as Anansi, do it as Brer Rabbit. Which is not Gullah Geechee, it's Joel Chandler Harris, but do it as Brer Rabbit and then go up there and make sure you sing with that. And carry a basket on your head. If you can do that, we'll give you a little $10 extra. And unfortunately, the globalization of the world has been increased now by a new form of plantation exploitation and cultural tourism surrounding these things that have to do with the African diaspora that was created on both of the Gold Coast, West Africa and the Sea Islands, the eastern coast, southeastern coast of the coast of the U.S. here it is that today people want to come, they want to see the natives, they want to hear the natives, and if they can do it in a weekend, oh great! We did it all in that one spot, and one weekend we went to one park, we heard the music, we ate the food, we got some of the, oh yes, I have some of the rice, I bought some in a bag, I have it as a souvenir, it's on my wall, you know, and then they walk away and they swear now, I'm an expert. I'll now write my thesis on my research amongst the Gullah Geechee people. And they walk away with a product that may completely redefine a whole cultural community that never even met the individual that said they wrote this book. And that community never receives a dollar or a dime from the photo, from the book, from the lectures that one individual is going to do. And now that we have these things called cameras attached to almost everything, your bra strap, your eyelash, your shoelace, there's a camera on it, there's a recording device of some kind, people carry it everywhere they go. We won't talk about your cell phones. Then, even if I don't give you permission to record me, you hit the button in your pocket. And then at least if I can hear her talk, I take her voice back and I put it in an exhibition in the archive or in the museum. But I never identify who is the speaker. I may not even say it's a speaker in Trinidad. I may just say a descendant of slaves, which is so inappropriate, so inhumane. To call people slaves is to strip them of their humanity, their intellect, their culture. So all of what we've already talked about this morning connects to that. If I already don't believe you have intellect, you don't have intellectual property rights. If I don't believe you had a culture other than me taking you from your ancestors from the continent, and I have told the story that I then placed you somewhere else, and I taught you how to grow rice. Not that I studied your people, and I saw you growing rice, and I tested the conditions of the soil in another land, and realized this rice here won't grow there because this is hill rice. But this rice here makes it through even the storms of the sea islands. This one can withstand the earthquake. This one withstands the hurricane. And I realize it. So now I plant this. I want to plant this. But then I don't know if I plant it, how do I maintain it so that I maximize the harvest? The only way for me to know is I must come and I got to harvest another way. I got to harvest from here. So now when I harvest what you have here, I exploit it and I get the gold. I get this gold and I get this gold. But then I teach you not to call yourselves gold. I teach you to call yourselves slaves, which means you're not connected to any culture, any continent, any community, any intellect. So you can't fight me for intellectual property if you never thought your ancestors had intellect either, because the colonizer told the story instead of you telling it. Or they scripted somebody else that they thought looked like you, sound like you, and said you only go in there and you tell them this story this way, because they'll believe you. If I said him, they might question it. But if I said you, they'll believe you. And now you go in and you do this. Why do you think the people here that you call spiritual Baptists were then prohibited from their own spiritual practices? An entire law, I printed it out on the internet. An entire law was created here in 1917 that is called the Shelters Prohibition Ordinance. The shelters. This year. It's still what we do. We gotta get it. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Over we. And before we build our state, we were the very regret. And why go? We go and be free. We can't have you take that to Trinidad. We tried to stop you on the Sea Island singing these things. Now the ones who joined the Marines, you are doing it. You're taking it ahead. We can't let you do that. Because if they get it out. Now remember, we're not slaves. We're free. God make we free. We're not a tool for honor to take care and take from. We, people with knowledge like this here, like everybody else in the world, we can fight. We're strong. We're stronger together in the circle than we are apart, you see. So here it is. While we worked in the Carolina Gold Rice, songs like what I just sang were heard. We had songs right on up to the time of the U.S. Civil War. Through 1812, they yet the song says, stay in the field, oh, stay in the field, stay in the field, until the war is ended. When we hear it, we know what we're saying to one another. This time and this trouble won't last always. So just stay right there and do what you're doing. Work, do what you're doing. Our time is coming. The others only heard celebration. Oh, they're singing good. They're in the field. They're working hard today. More money for me. Not knowing many times when the spirituals were sung, just like when the shouters were shouting, it was to bring the spiritual energy to now restore the people to their power and to have them walk out of bondage, whether it is physical or whether it was mental. So when we gather here now, 200 years after the Americans came here, and I must say, when I first saw this word American in the material that Brother Francis sent to me, I just read like I read. So, okay, Americans, I'll have to see what this is on the flyer, who the Americans, right? Not thinking right then, American, just pronounce it. So that would be a gullible way to say American. So now as I go to research and read the history, I say, oh, the people chop off the thing over there too, they call American. It sounds like them the Gullah Geechees. But all over the world, they've covered the words Gullah Geechee. Because if you knew the word Gullah Geechee in all parts of the African diaspora, you would connect. And you would be able to connect the dots of both the transatlantic slave trade triangle or circle, because it really was a transatlantic circle of enslavement. All right? Because when the people and the black gold went one way, the products went the other. And we literally fed the world. We literally enriched and enriched the world. So it is time for us to feed ourselves again and to enrich and enrichen our cultural communities and to realize none of it American. There's no Native Americans. You got Carib, right? You have the indigenous people. You have Yamasee, Adisto, Cree. You have these names. There's no American. There's Gullah Geechee. But y'all call me over y'all American now. I hear that. Just like in Texas, they call us Seminole, Black Seminole, Afro Seminole. Oklahoma, Black Seminole, Afro Seminole. Florida, Black Seminole, Afro Seminole. Mexico, Muscogee. Andros Island, in the Bahamas, Seminole, Black Seminole. And again, when I get there and say, well, who Hunter children of this? Oh, great God! You sound like my grandma. Where's she from? She from Georgia? We've been here for years, but we know she comes from the coast of Georgia. And I said before the coast of Georgia, yeah, they said some people were in the Carolinas. Right. The boundaries of maps are lines we draw on paper to only give us a visual. But in real life, they're not real. They're only as real as we make them here. This is where the real boundaries get formed. And if they're formed here, they can be taken down here. And that's why I appreciate having the opportunity, the blessed opportunity, to speak for my ancestors at the inaugural Hill Rice Symposium. Because just like Brother Francis, my family grew rice. I live literally, my house is in the spot on the land where my grandfather, Henry Holmes, grew Carolina gold rice during my mother's lifetime. So when I took the time to write this book, which is amongst the stack of books the archives now has, all right, from We Sold to the Soil, Cotton, Rice, and Indigo, I told the stories of rice production, cotton, indigo production from our perspective, not just from what I found in archives, but also from my family, because they've grown all of these, taught the traditions to me, passed it down. But when you get there and you say, why aren't you growing it anymore? My mother and everyone will tell you, you must be out your mind. That's hard work. I'm not doing that no more. Do you realize how much land it takes to grow rice? You know how much people you're going to need? How much water you're going to need? And then in the U.S. we have a thing called the Department of Health and Environmental Control. And because rice requires stagnating water, when you hold that water in there, your mosquito population will increase. So therefore, DHEC doesn't want to give, we talked about permits for people to now grow mass volumes of rice anymore in our region. And that's a critical part. Who now legislates and controls the economy, the gold, the riches, the enrichment, your food? So now we're talking about food security. When out of the major 3 cash crops, the only edible one, I hope that's the only one you're eating, is rice. But now the very people who brought it to grow it are told by others, you shouldn't grow it anymore because we're protecting your health. Are you? Or are you causing us bad health by giving us something that, not particularly this one, but just that torn, that when you buy it in the supermarket, it's so-called enriched rice, meaning you bleached it first, and then you put it back to a process and try to add its nutrients back to it, as opposed to hill rice that you just go and you get it, and then you use the mortar and the pestle, you take it and you find it, and then after that you put them in the pot. So now when you say people have arthritis, you're only building more business for people like Dr. Anthony and Dr. You see what I'm saying? When they say people are getting diabetes and all of these things, it's from this processed food and us going to the shelf to buy, not going to the field for picking, singing our songs, shouting together, keeping your spirit uplifted. We wouldn't have so much heart problems if we were united. Because your life is so much easier when somebody else helps you carry the basket. You know? And then we sit and we all share. Because one thing about a pot of rice, we could feed everybody in here with it. Somehow, it's always enough. You know? You don't care how many cousins and people come over, somehow a pot of rice, you can always make enough for everybody. And so it's very important that this message at this inaugural Hill Rice Symposium comes down the hill to where people call the low country, where we are technically below sea level and where it looks like your earthquakes want to bring you to around here. But we hope it does not, okay? And so we need to bring that back down to the grassroots level so we can bring people back up to the high point where they can look at all of this and see how we are all connected. We are all family. So this is my greeting to you from the Gold Coast. And I pray it has enriched your souls. Peace and blessings.